one of these stages, but you can certainly lose it. A flat last 50 kilometers, medium mountains before in the first half or so, and just rain all day and a really, really nervous peloton. We had like 4K, 7.5%. I really thought the break had a chance today, Benji, but no one, maybe they looked out their window and they didn't want it, but no one really tried to get in the break. Maybe is that because they know all of Jayco, all of Alpecin, all of Trek, and maybe even DSM will chase you all day.
Very likely, those are the teams that would like to make it a more, well, it depends, eh? Because you've got those teams with the not so pure sprinters, the versatile sprinters who think, okay, we can control the breakaway and maybe get something out of it if we make it a bit harder. But also the pure sprinters who might not want to pace too hard because they want their leader to be able to follow on these climbs. So it's kind of a balance of which teams are going to do it. But maybe those breakaway riders, the Magnus Korts of the world, were also like, let's look through the window and we're like, oh, that's a lot of rain out there. I don't like going in the breakaway in the rain. That's one opportunity. But I think it's more that there's so many teams that perhaps would have done it. But I was still surprised. I was surprised that there was not more. Maybe they're just tired from yesterday.
Okay, yeah, I accept that. And listen, this is a classic, this is classic Couch DS. I accept that completely. but if you are, we have spoken so much this year about, and you saw, everyone's seen the statistics about the percentage of World Tour races won by Pog, Jumbo, or UAE, Ineos, maybe not Ineos, Quick Step with Remco, or Mathieu van der Poel and Philipsen. And you have an opportunity today where none of those teams are going to go for the stage at all. And if you don't have a top sprinter, I'm looking at FDJ, I'm looking at Cofidis, Azure Desert. I know you won yesterday, but while the going's good, make hay. While the sun is not shining and the other teams are hiding, let the grass grow. Yeah, because that's what I'm thinking. Because yeah, those teams will control, but you know who would be very, very angry if every descent had to get pushed full gas? Probably the GC teams, and there'd be trouble. So, or EF, Education First, Bettiol. So I was really surprised because, okay, it's a midweek rainy Giro stage. I completely understand it. Where would I be? In the car after 10K? Like, too cold, too rainy. But if you're Alberto Bettiol, I don't know, I was surprised. But eventually you have to have this stage. Like, yep. We've been spoiled the first 4 stages. You have to eventually expect this sort of stage.
Exactly, but still, there's so many altitude meters in the first half.
Yeah.
Even if you don't go in the breakaway, I felt like the versatile sprinter teams might have made it harder. Like, if we go back in time and we think about the Bora Sagan days, Bora would 100% have tried to benefit from this stage for the green jersey in the Tour de France.
True.
They've done that on these types of stages. But then again, maybe the green jersey is more important than the Ciclamino jersey for people, and that's why they don't do that. But Trek Segafredo didn't really push that hard. Jayco didn't really do that too hard. Otto Vergade was pacing at the front. That was controlling the breakaway. But while all that is happening, something happens in the peloton. I was on a ride, you were on a hike, and we didn't see it until we came back home. But a dog invaded the road.
A small dog. Maybe it was Antonio Tiberi's.
Jesus.
Invaded the course. And we've had some good boys already in this Giro. I've noticed some good boys that are on the side of the road. In Strada Bianca, there's usually a friendly Maremma that just walks by the side of the road, doesn't even notice the cyclist. This was not a good boy. This guy went straight for the front wheel of the nearest rider that he could see, which I think was Ballerini or Seri. Ballerini, I think. Italian on Italian violence. The breed of the dog, I'm not entirely sure. I would say the weight of the dog, maybe 8 to 10 kilos, but could be heavier based on the impact on the front wheel. And in these wet conditions, said dog just took Ballerini down, and that caused a ripple effect. And in that, we've only got a heli shot of this, and we can't really see Remco in the heli shot. And the next shot we see from a TV motor on the ground, Remco's crashed, and he's on the side of the road. He's moving, he's sitting up, he's conscious, but he's not moving. Like, he's just sitting there for over a minute and doesn't get up. So either rattled, or also he was getting his bearings, or I don't know. Just maybe he's just frustrated and just okay, let me just let the adrenaline just sink down, relax. It's not an important phase of the race. Then I'll get up and continue. I don't know, but Ballerini slid for. It's weird because the wet makes crashes more likely, But when you crash in the wet like that, like Ballerini just slid and was fine. But he slid like 55 meters. So, anyways, this sort of thing happens, once a year in cycling? Animals taking people down twice this year, nearly, with the horse in Strada?
Yeah, true. Too many animals on the road. What can I say? Ban them. No. One thing before we go further, let's talk about the break very shortly. There's a 3-man break up the road. There was a 4-man break up the road initially for the first climb, that first tiny 3-kilometer, 2-kilometer climb at the start where Pinot took the points. Then half of the breakaway crashed in the descent. Pinot didn't crash. It was, I think, Zoccarato and Gaudin that hit the floor, but eventually they were still in the breakaway with Champion. So that's our 3-man break for the day. But yeah, that's kind of it for the break, to be honest. They are there, and then they are not there by the final.
I mean, yeah, good on those guys for getting in the break. It was even sketchy in the breakaway. This was like a really tricky stage. And if you want to watch probably the last 10Ks is where I would recommend watching this race from, or 15Ks when the GC teams start to move up and get busy. Ineos, they didn't have any problems today. They sort of had lady luck on their side today. But if you do want to watch those last 10Ks, GCN Plus is the place to do so. There's also new documentaries dropping very regularly to keep you entertained, perhaps after the Giro finishes each evening. Maybe you want to watch Tour de Hungary. Maybe you're watching Giro d'Italia like us live, and then you've got to go back and watch the Tour de Hungary. Well, the GCN Plus has you covered for that. So if you want 15% off an annual pass, go to the link down below for LRCP listeners. And yeah, go check it out. That's what we're watching on every day here together. GCN Plus at LRCP headquarters. All right. Anything else happen in the mid phase of this race, Benji? I took a siesta.
I only wrote down, the only note is about the intermediate sprint, and it's something else that says nothing happens on the climb. But first, the intermediate sprint, let's talk about that. Break take is the first 3 amount of points, but then there's still like 4 or 6 points available. I don't know by heart, but anyway, we'll talk about what the Ciclamino standing is afterwards. But Pedersen, it was a bit of a sketchy sprint in terms of in the rain and so forth. Those sprints are obviously a bit more intense. And we see Pedersen get a lead out, and then he goes to the front and basically kind of leads himself out a bit because there's a corner just before the intermediate sprint and Milan's on the wheel and Matthews is too far behind. But he still beats, I think, Grove's 43rd spot. So those are like the 4 riders that gained points at the intermediate sprint. So Pedersen takes some points on the others there. But we'll talk after the race what the Ciclamino standings are. Let's not forget that. Hey, Patrick, it's all on you. All my hope is on you.
I mean, I can just read it from PCS, the standings. But yeah, I probably will forget. Ciclamino is like not on my high list of...
I couldn't give...
Well, because it's just... Isn't it just who doesn't OTL by Rome? Albanese probably will win Ciclamino. Does he have a shot? Dainese, I think Groves is climbing unbelievably well. I think Groves will win Ciclamino. Probably not a hot take, probably because he's a point off Ciclamino. So we'll get back to that. But yeah, Groves climbing so well, it's who's going to not OTL. Anyway, deeper into the race, as I said, GC team set up. Zoccarato is the last remaining guy from the breakaway. He starts having gear issues, but he's still pedaling with like a self-selected cadence where he's gaining time on the peloton. So that looked kind of strange to me. And then he's eventually caught back when the GC teams start moving with earnest. And Ineos set up a longer train today. Ganna is pulling in that train. I think after Plusky, he pulled for a K&a-half or so, and then was gone. And then it was Swift, I think, for Thomas and Gegenhardt. And then Aronsman's wearing white, actually, because Remco's wearing World's jersey, doesn't want it. Almeida's in Portuguese National Champs jersey, doesn't want it. And Legnesson's in pink, so he can't wear it. So Aronsman was in white. Affini wasn't at the front for Jumbo at this point. Roglic has been kind of doing the initial positioning of himself, I would say, onto Remco's wheel, and then someone like a Baumann flows over the top of him. But I couldn't see Affini for Jumbo-Visma. Bahrain and Haig, I'm not sure where they were. EF, their strategy in the sprints is just to hands off. We don't get involved in this shenanigans at the front. On the left was Alpecin and Jayco setting up for both Dunbar and Matthews and Groves for the sprint. So big road, wet conditions, 7Ks to go. We already saw in a roundabout how slippery it was because a TV motorbike crashed, and I don't know if it careened into the spectators. 7Ks to go, there's one corner, and it's the last corner pretty much in this race.
Yeah.
And I was like, fingers crossed, no one crash, no one crash, no one crash. Someone crashed, I don't know if it was Alpecin or Movistar's blue jersey. it was almost inevitable, frankly, because too much front brake paint, crash. Roglic goes down, falls over, gets straight back up, but his chain's off or something's wrong with the bike.
Yeah.
And we see Jumbo caught. Quickstep were in better position because of Catania, Czerny, Ballerini, and they made it through safe. Thomas definitely, but Gegenhardt as well, I think, made it through safe. And we're now thinking, we're 7Ks to go, no 3-kilometer rule. Roglic, I haven't seen Affini. Is he going to make this back? And who's going to drive it at the front?
And we see that Quickstep still pacing. They were already pacing a bit before this crash happened, but I feel like Ballerini was pushing a tiny bit harder after the crash, if I have to guess so myself. But I will say we then suddenly see Baumann standing by the side of the road with a bike that has the number 1 on it. So that is Roglic's bike that is standing next to him. So our guess is then, okay, Baumann gave his bike to Roglic, which is a very good move. And then we see the chase happening, which is a gap of like 60 meters is my guess, 60, 65 meters, based on the fact that it was 4 seconds in between, manually counted by this man himself. And we see 4 riders of Jumbo, but then suddenly it's down to 2 riders because there's a split in the group, and then there's an EF rider in between there, probably Healy.
Yeah.
And eventually this group returns. But I will say, however, remember in the Tour de France last year, they had the Vingegaard mechanical issue in the cobble stage. I would have liked to see a helicopter of this one because I feel like this was so well done because this was really fast.
Yeah, because Baumann's the same size as Roglic. That's why Tratnik was a good addition because he's the same size bike. Whereas Koos is too big.
Yeah.
And Van Hooydonk Van Hooydonk was like, let me just fix your chain, Jonas. Jonas was like, how about I take an XL 61 centimeter bike and I have to ride out of the saddle with it. So yeah, I presume this is a slicker change. And Affini, I think it was Affini, did a magnificent job to the point where he dropped every other GC guy trying to come back. Affini gapped them and he brought them back within, I would say, 4Ks to go. It was over the 3-kilometer rule. And Affini, yeah, he did a really good job bringing Roglic back or whoever it was for Jumbo. And then we assumed, because, okay, Quickstep were pacing with Catania to the 3-kilometer rule, got 3-kilometer banner, got zero problem with that. Then the question is, okay, are they going to keep pacing to the finish because people are dropped? Nah, doubt it, especially with just Ballerini there. And Quickstep pull up stumps with 2.6Ks to go. So everyone's coming back anyway. And about this time, just under 3 kilometers to go, and this is very important, by the way, about 50 plus riders make it back to within whatever you consider or constitutes this group, just under the 3-kilometer to go banner. And there's not really adequate helicopter coverage of all these riders, but so many riders came back. I would also say that 2 Alpecin riders or whoever it was that were looking back when Jumbo were coming back and they like squeezed in the middle, that was like a bit unusual, or I don't know what they were looking for because I think Groves was in the group ahead because he did pretty well at the end. Anyway, 2.6Ks to go. Camera pans from Ballerini leading out Remco, keeping him safe. Pans to DSM with Leknesund, or whoever. No, Leknesund came back to DSM with, let's say, Dainese. Pans back, and it looks like Quickstep have pulled up stumps. They're under 3Ks to go, pull up stumps. We saw the other sprint stage. Unlike Roglic, Quickstep were happy to sit at the back, out of the melee. And in the front-on shot, even before it goes to the heli shot, you see Remco start to look over his shoulder. He starts to look.
Yeah.
And they're sliding back through the group. And it really is, this is the dangerous part of GC guys getting involved in sprints, is A, trying to move up, and B, trying to move back. Holding position, hold a wheel, they can do that, no problem. But now they're moving back, and there's sprint guys, half of whom might have come back from the crash before, who are stressed. A lot of people are still fresh, and it's wet. Remco looks over his left shoulder. I don't really know why, instead of just sliding back. And as he looks over his left shoulder, he drifts to the right. And Trek are moving up Pedersen or whoever on the right-hand side, and they're moving up to basically get involved in the sprint. Because as I said, we are under 3Ks to go. This is a sprint stage. And they move across to the left. Remco moves across from... No, they move across from the right. Remco moves across from the left. He's not looking at his front wheel, and he chops himself. And to be honest, it's a bit of an amateur move. Like it's like 101. Like when you're dropping back, like look in a straight line or be aware of your front wheel, and definitely don't look over your shoulder in the middle of a hectic wet sprint stage and move off your line that much and not know where your front wheel is and people coming from your right. So I don't really blame the Trek riders too much. They're trying to keep it up. and move Pedersen up to where the sprint trends were on the left-hand side. And I think Remco's only got himself to blame here.
I think so as well. And the factor is, I think a few days ago we had a similar crash with someone looking behind, and there was a comment on Twitter by an ex-rider that said that Hushhoff, the GOAT, let's talk about him. He said to that ex-rider in his heydays, never look behind, because that can really cause crashes. Because if you look to the left side and you drift without you knowing, then you're gonna drift to the side where people might pass you. And the factor as well is, you could say, oh, the Mets Pedersen, the Trek riders are moving up, so they're coming from behind, they can see Remco. But the second that Remco moves to the right, the Trek rider is actually already ahead of him.
Yeah.
And Remco moves to the right and basically clashes into the back wheel of that one rider, loses his balance, then flies into the second Trek rider because he's trying to hold balance, but in doing so, he's moving to the right even more.
And it's wet.
Exactly. And it's wet. That's one factor. But even without wet, this crash could have happened.
Yeah.
And that brings down half of the group. And it looks like, I don't know, Roglic is not in the group after this crash. Was he involved in the crash? I don't know, but...
No. So there was a Jumbo rider really close behind Remco, and Remco goes down, he bounces straight back up. Unlike the other crash, this time he's sort of fighting furious, and he's remonstrating and cranky about it, talking to the car for a long time. And to anyone that would listen to him in the run into the finish, I think it was Seri, do you reckon he gets a bonus?
Even the Lotto rider.
Do you reckon, Chimolai, do you reckon Seri gets a bonus for listening to... No, it wasn't your fault, Remco. Those fucking Trek guys, how dare they try and contest? I mean, listen, I know it's very old school, but I've said it before, I'm not a fan of the 3 kilometer rule, because this is now the second sprint stage where there has been a crash with multiple riders going down, where it's the GC teams mixing it up with the sprint teams late in the stage, where I really think they have no business taking sprint teams' wheels. And it's not like for example, like Ballerini was edging onto Grove's wheel a bit. We didn't see the initial, but it's like, this is the second time this has happened now. Right or wrong of, okay, sometimes it's going to be the sprint team's fault. Like people thought it was Grove's fault. Sometimes it's going to be Remco's or GC team's fault. But it's just those two groups mixing where the sprinters are like in war mode and the other guys are in survival mode. I don't know. I don't know how safe the 3 kilometer rule really makes the race much safer. I mean, there's been studies that show it doesn't.
Agreed. And like I've already questioned it a few times before. Is the UCI ever looking into data to actually decide if a rule is actually worth it to be implemented or was worth it to be implemented into the past? That stuff I don't really know, but I will say Remco obviously is at fault of his own crash here, but it's also not like he did it on purpose. His reactions afterwards are very Remco-like, and he's going to get roasted on the internet for doing so. But yeah, I think...
it's natural. You crash twice on one of these shitty stages. It's rainy, and you're just trying to get through and you don't want to lose GC. It's understandable. Like, I'd probably be even crankier.
You throw a bike at people.
Buani's my guy. Yeah, my AirPods stop working. They get jettisoned. So, listen, I understand it. Anyway, the actual sprint itself, what lead outs are here? What sprinters are even here? We have Dainese, we have Groves in good position, we have Milan on his wheel. Milan is wearing a rain jacket. I don't know how aero it is. Maybe it's more aero than the LA speed suit. I don't know. I mean, Milan obviously he's already won one stage. Why not win one with the whole chest with the wind jacket eating the wind? But Pedersen's boxed in. That's the first thing I see. Pedersen's coming under, fighting Milan for Grove's wheel, but they're on the right-hand barrier. And it's like Milan is not going to open the door to let Pedersen shoot through the left of Grove's wheel. So I'm like, Pedersen's not winning from that position. See, Cavendish was there. He made it through in the British National Champs jersey, and he's actually in a decent position. And then basically the sprint just starts. Groves opens up. Milan, I called Milan from 150. I was like, Milan's going to win. He's coming out of Grove's wheel. And I know Pedersen's boxed. He isn't coming out of that wheel. And Groves just beats everybody straight up with a long sprint, just better in this finish. Now, there's another factor here at play. Groves is on the inside near the barrier. No paint. And I need to know, does painted lines in the wet have more rolling resistance or less power transfer efficiency from the back wheel compared to the normal tarmac in the wet? Because Milan sprinted the whole time on the paint, and he's skipping. And if you're dropping 1,500, I do it all the time. I go out my house, I drop 1,500 watts, 5, 10, sometimes 50 seconds up the local hill in the wet. You slip on the paint a little bit. And Milan's doing that, and I'm thinking, that's not the spot to be in. And that paint then causes another problem, Benji, for Cav. We're not done with the crashes yet. It's crazy. I'll run through this crash. Cav is on the painted lines trying to come out of Milan's wheel. His back wheel skips out, and he has to self-correct, nearly crashes, holds it up, goes to the left on the tarmac. That opens the gate, or the door basically, to Milan's back wheel in a lane, but to the left of Milan for Dainese, who was boxed by Cav previously. Dainese just hits that, and Cav slowed down a bit while he didn't pedal for 0.3 seconds. But then Cav aggressively swings back in to Milan's wheel. At the same time, not just to Milan's wheel, almost further than that, to the point where he's like trying to go back and box Dainese, but Dainese is already committed to jumping the other way to the left with that space that's opened. Yeah. Cav hits Dainese's back wheel like, I don't know, the deviation police. We don't have the merch yet. The merch is coming, by the way. We should reference that. We're battle testing the merch. We're making sure that when you wash it, that the Luhrmann's designs don't run out, or the sizing's all good, etc. That's why we're battle testing the merch on the pods that you've seen, like this hat, like the t-shirts that you've seen Benji and I wearing. Twitter France, stay tuned for that. Do we need to get our sprint deviation hats on for this, or is this the famous cliche of racing a sprint incident?
The internet's asking for a Dainese DQ.
Oh, come on. No way.
I don't see it. As in, Cavendish is going slower than Dainese, and I think Dainese moves to the left and does cut Cavendish's front wheel, but Cavendish going to the right was probably also not expected by Dainese at that point. So I feel like it's more leaning towards a race incident than an actual fault of either of the riders, because they both do something that was probably unexpected by the other rider, and that leads to them crashing. And
what was Cav's line?
He's crying, woohoo, back and forth.
Like, Dainese doesn't have to give him 5 meters leeway either side. Like, Cav's on the left of the paint after he's recorrected. He then decides he moves further than Dainese. Cavendish moves back into Dainese after he created that space, which again is not his fault. I would very much question why there are about 1,000 painted lines and a pedestrian crossing in the finish. I think Cav then also he finally went down when he hit the pedestrian crossing. I mean, the paint and the wet is crazy. No, it's okay. Dainese shoots the gap. Cav eventually chops his own front wheel on Dainese's back wheel. Who's moved further? It's not like Cav. This is different to when Cav is on Milan's wheel, straight back on it. Dainese moves up from the right and just straight up chops his front wheel. And Cav's just been, to me, it's different to that situation. Like, Dainese is pre-committed already to an open space and Cav moves back in. And it's just really unfortunate. It's the painted lines creating an extra dangerous situation in the rain. But no, I can't get behind the DSQ Dainese stuff. I think Cav kind of knew what he was doing, actually, trying to move back in on Dainese a little bit as well. I think there's risk that comes with that too. But anyway, Groves wins the stage. Milan second, Pedersen third, Dainese fourth, Cavendish fifth. Nicolas Dalla Valle from Corotec, didn't know who he was, but he came sixth. Maestri seventh. Fiorelli, he didn't crash. He came eighth. Held it up on the...
do better. Should have beaten Dalla Valle.
He nearly crashed in the barriers. Cav put him in the barriers. He nearly... I don't know how he didn't crash. I don't know if he must have hurt his hand. Vendrame ninth. Matthews probably a little bit disappointed with 10th, I would say. Cavendish fifth. Cavendish got that fifth rolling across the line. Basically crashed. So very, very messy final stage. I keep refreshing PCS. It's been half an hour now, Benji. What do you think RCS do with the time gaps? I'll tell you what's going to happen now.
Well, I know what you're going to say, and I feel like the same way. I feel like we're going to see a lot of riders getting the same time that necessarily don't deserve the same time, just because they can't be fucked figuring out who was in the group and who wasn't. If
you were in the first crash with 7Ks to go, I would recommend that you hide your Strava now, your Strava activity now. If you didn't make it back to the group, under 3Ks to go. Hide that old Strava activity. No evidence, no foul.
And you believe that RCS is going to put in the time to figure out...
No, someone on Twitter will. Someone on Twitter will look at it.
Yeah.
That person being me. I'm like, he was in the group. No, I actually don't care that much, to be honest. Because I hate the 3-kilometer rule, like I already said. I think it's stupid. So I think they're going to give everyone the same time. I think they're going to say Roglic group was all the other people that crashed, and all the GC guys came back, and then Remco crashed, and they're all going to get at the same time, because if you can't do a TT timing correctly, then I don't know how you're going to do this one correctly. So GC, let's just say Leknesson stays in pink. No other changes in the top 10. Almeida didn't crash today. Miracle.
I know. Someone texted me. I literally got a text after the race saying, Benji today, Joao Almeida have luck. It's a Twitter user with a Portuguese flag in its name. So,
dude,
we're celebrating.
I mean, there was another crash in Hungary today. Unfortunately, Plapp went down really hard. I think he continued. Bernal also went down really hard for Ineos, and that was also in the last 3Ks. And I don't know. And because Tullett was at the back of the group, not with those guys, not fighting for position, like really just at the back laying off, and he didn't crash. And I think, yeah, it's just, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But it's really tricky in these dangerous sprint stages. But in terms of Ciclamino, I will bring it up, like you said, Benji. According to PCS now, it is Milan on 92 points, Groves on 91, Pedersen 56. I would say, given Pedersen's current shape, which is not so good, I don't know if he was caught behind the crash and had to come back, but I don't know.
But
Groves the favorite right now for me.
Yeah, but Pedersen would have been closer if he didn't crash in that first sprint stage.
True. Yes, true. He didn't get any points for that. Did Groves top 3 that stage?
I can't remember, man. I live in the day.
Stage 2, Groves came 3rd. Yeah, you're right. So
yesterday. I don't know.
Aurelian Parapantra won yesterday.
Jesus Christ, dude. That took a while.
Well, no, I saw on What's Occurring about that, because G's doing a podcast every day, which is good, because he actually given some good tea. Some good tea, and he said, people might ask why we were pacing like that, and, it looks stupid, and listen, we're not, we were just there, and, we're not going to do it for the rest of the race. Like, so listen, I made sure Jumbo have put Hessman in the valley and kept the gap tighter when Quickstep stopped, and then put Bowman and Kuss to pace as well. So it's not just them. I don't know. But who cares? Yesterday's done. Anyway, tomorrow's stage to Napoli. Remember, Napoli was the stage last year. There was a beautiful circuit stage where Van der Poel, Bini got in the break. Huge fight. They kind of backed themselves out of the break, and De Gent and Lotto had a masterclass to win. That was actually a really good break stage. Tomorrow's stage is a little bit less difficult than I remember that stage being.
Bit.
Is it less difficult? It's got longer climbs.
Far less. It's awful compared to last year.
Yeah. Don't you wish there was more hills for Bettiol type guys in the last hour of this race? Like, don't you think they're missing that proper hilly circuit at the end?
Completely agree, because now you're in a similar situation as today's stage, where you are predicting, is it going to be a breakaway or a reduced sprint stage, something like that, because the parkour looks doable for a Trek and Jayco and so forth to control in the same way that happened today. So it wouldn't surprise me if it's another sprint. It would also not surprise me if suddenly tomorrow's the stage where people start to try and fight on that. Well, just to be clear, there's a climb in the stage after 39 kilometers of 8.3 kilometers length, 6.2%. That's, in my opinion, where the break, if a larger break wants to form, that's where it needs to be, unless a 3-man Italian break has launched already beforehand.
So, wow, Various in the comments said we need to check the weather forecast, and I said, listen, you're overestimating how much work I'm willing to do for this podcast. But nah, I checked the weather. I checked the weather for tomorrow. Apparently it's raining in the morning, 17 degrees in Naples, and then it's 70% chance of rain for an hour, but then it's like 17 and sunny. But from 2 p.m. to 5, it's like sunny. So I don't want to hear no rain excuses.
But the thing is, with these last two stages, I don't even think the weather really influenced the crashes, of course, it influenced, in some parts of the race being harder, it influenced. But I feel yesterday there would have been a break situation in a similar fashion if it was a sunny stage. And that might even have made the break more likely to win in the first place. I reckon
Quickstep go for the stage yesterday if it was sunny.
If it's sunny?
Yeah.
Nah, don't believe it.
Yeah.
I'm not on paper with you. But
you think they're happy? You think they're happy and not stressed the last couple of stages in the rain?
They're definitely stressed, but I don't think that would have made the difference necessarily.
Probably same goes for Roglic. If it's sunny, you'd be like, well, let's go punch out a 30-minute climb with a sprint of a group of 8.
What's more important is the technicality of the final. Like, if we take a look at the
you've
finals,
done some research too.
No, I haven't. I'm just pretending, and then I'm going to throw it back to you. And I'm like, if we take a look closer at the final here in the sprint stage, we got to take a look at the technicality, and I think Patrick has done a lot of research when it comes to the technicality of this sprint.
It was a flat last finish. I mean, this is how thin, how much has it thinned out before as I let Lanterne Rouge load up. God, this website's so slow. My Wi-Fi. I'll run through the stage. 163Ks from Napoli to Napoli, out and back. They do a loop. The first climb is 8.3K, 6.2%. The Valico de Ciunzi. And then there's another 3K, 5% afterwards. That is quite a difficult climb. Descent, rollers, 9K, 4%, not difficult at all. Descent, bonus sprint, descent, and then some 2K, 5% roller before flat into Naples on the coast. No crosswinds allowed in Italy. And let me have a look. They go through Sorrento up in there on holiday. Okay, we're into the finish, Benji. Doesn't look that. I mean, they go through. It's going to be in town. It looks like it's on the main road on the front of the sea. On the sea, not that technical. Like, okay, there's a couple of roundabouts, and there's like a left right. But if it's sunny, it's not that technical. There is one small left-hand bend, I think, with a few 100 meters to go. But there is a right-left dog leg with
Dog leg?
Yeah, dog leg. 1.5 Ks to go. So it's a straight finish in the last K. Gaviria, I don't see it. I'm just looking for the stage with
a corner
with 200 to go, and that is Gaviria's winning that day. Tomorrow, nah. It's going to be a sprint again, isn't it? Because if the teams didn't have the appetite today, why would they have the appetite tomorrow? Now, Pino will probably go in the break to get the KOM points on the Cat 2, the initial one. But Groves is climbing so well that you can put Oscar Riesebeck on that climb and you can pace at a good pace, and Groves ain't going to drop on 20 minutes. You can do 5.8 watts per kilo for 20 minutes. Quicker echelon. And then the break's going to get no leash. And you just won today, so you're confident he's the best in the best three sprinters here, him, Milan, and maybe Pedersen. So I think it's a sprint again because no one had the appetite to go today. Why would it change tomorrow? Like, is Bertiol going to wake up tomorrow and go all in on this break?
No.
Well, then why would Kung?
No.
Bro, it's a sprint.
Yes.
Who wins?
Cavendish.
He didn't. I mean, he got straight back up today, I think.
He crashed 2 of the sprint stages so far, so I'm just betting on him not crashing this time around.
Groves won today. He looked pretty sharp. I'm going to go Groves again because Milan was in his wheel, and if he's better than Groves significantly, he beats him there. Maybe he was tired. Maybe it was the paint, like I said. But, you know, for us 1500 watt warriors. But yeah, I'm going Groves again. They did lose Singeldam to sickness. It's not that technical, the finish. This is really Pedersen and Trekker got as I said, Benji, they're missing turns. Like, Kirsch is good, but they are not in good position in the last K of these sprints. First stage, of course, they crashed. That's not their fault. But maybe even today they were mixed up in the Remco stuff a little bit. But yeah, tomorrow's stage, I think it's a sprint again. I really wish they had put some hills there to spice it up. I guess we do have that on stage 8. That is that sort of stage. But I've already had 3 sprints. 3 is enough. Maybe they didn't expect the sprinters to win today. Stage 7, we do have a long uphill finish that Joe Dombrowski might win. I don't know. I'll get to that when I come to it. Have we got a snow check on Campo Imperatore? Is it rideable?
Mate, you just said we check weather for the stage before, not for 10 stages in advance.
Well, yeah, but we're not RCS. Or actually, maybe RCS check it about the same time we do. They log into the weather for, oh, fuck, there's 4 meters of snow on the road. It's like 11 a.m. Adam Hansen to the CPA and Salvador, like, guys, come on. We'll just do another road. Anyway, that was the stage today. Not the best stage, honestly, but I'm happy for growth. Well, it wasn't. It was like people crash all the time.
And crashes making the stage is unfortunate for the race.
Yeah, and it doesn't make it a good stage that people crashed, even, the dog sent from hell. So if you want to catch up on those crashes, GCN Plus is the place to watch it back, or Tour de Hungary. Thanks, as always, for listening to LRCP, and we'll see you with the Naples stage tomorrow. Ciao.